we doing? Ready for lunch? Great. We won't take long. It's only 15 minutes, and it should be fun and fast. Can you guys hear me well? Okay, good. My name is Devang, while I was at Nvidia for about 10 years, Jensen fired me 3 times. Now, these weren't literal firings, these were metaphorical. Lessons behind these firings without taking too hard. And one of those lessons was that my job wasn't just to write code, it was to create video. I think it's going to come quite handy when we talk about fundraising. How many of you are actively fundraising right now? Anyone? One? How many of you have raised funds so far? Ever? That's another one. How many of you plan to raise money? Okay, good. All right. This talk is going to be helpful. If you are not planning to raise or haven't raised, I do believe it's still going to be helpful. In general, I just believe that some of these lessons are worthwhile. So, just giving you a little bit of introduction about myself. So I spent 10 years in India. I started as an engineer. I was the first product manager of Nvidia. Then I joined Twilio pre-IPO, and I helped them build a new business called Customer Engagement Platform that was about $500 million in 4 years. And then from there, I joined a seed stage company called Snorkel. And at Snorkel, I helped them raise 3 rounds of funding and grew them from a seed stage company into unicorn. And since last year, I've been building my own venture firm called Model Ventures. I'm an advisor and investor in companies like Glean, Replit, Fireworks AI, Nixla, several others. And the question I have is, what do you believe is in the core of fundraising? I mean, even if you haven't raised funds, you might have considered angel investment. You might have thought about investing or putting your money to work somewhere. What do you think is the core of funding in India? Increase in value? Yeah. How important do you think the product is? Yeah. To me, I believe the number one thing at the core of fundraising is trust. Just imagine if you don't trust someone who truly give your money to them. And the real question now is, how do you tell that you've been able to build trust or not? So if you have gone through the fundraising journey, you might recognize some of these statements over here. I call this the investor bingo. Some of the reasons here, we've seen other teams do what you're doing. What is your real IP? This looks like a wrapper. This feels too early. Come back to me in 12 months and we'll see how far along you are. Right? All of these are signs that say that you haven't been able to build trust yet with the person that you're fundraising from. Whether it's a large firm, whether that's an individual angel investor, whether it's your neighbor, but these are some of the reasons why. These are some of the reasons that you will hear as you go through this process. And the question then comes that how do you build trust? How do you build trust in a very short amount of time, in a very short interaction? And sometimes you get the opportunity to interact over and over, but more often than not, you've heard about the 2-minute elevator pitch or whatnot. But at the end of the day, how do you build trust quickly? So, at least in the context of fundraising, there are 3 parameters that people look for. One is competence, and I can't help you on that. Competence is just something that you learn over with your skills and development. Second is consistency. Say what you do and then do what you say. You just have to show up and do what you do. The third is clarity. Right? Clarity is what we're going to focus on today. I do believe that that's an area where we can learn a little bit more how to drive clarity, whether it's for fundraising or in general. So we've established the fact that people don't invest in things that they don't trust. And people don't trust things that they don't understand, right? So clarity is the fastest way to building trust. At least one element of how you would build trust beyond competence and consistency. So what does it take to create clarity? I've used this framework several times in my past, and I'll give you an example from my past as well, how I put this framework to use. But I call it a very simple six-step framework, and it consists of 6 questions that you ask yourself. If you answer these 6 questions in whatever depth you can, to the best ability in your current state, the more clear your narrative, your pitch, your perception will be to people who you are pitching to. So one of them, the fundamental question is, clarity of the problem. Why are you building what you're building? Is there a need for you to build what you're building? And who feels this pain very deeply? Understanding who is really experiencing the pain that you're trying to solve. Second one is clarity of the market shift. Like, why are you building it now? What about the market has changed? Has this problem become more urgent, or has the solution become more possible? The third one is around clarity of impact, meaning if you did solve this problem, then what happens? What could the world look like when this problem is solved? Or if you don't solve this problem, what does the world look like? What is the negative implication of not being able to solve the problem that you're looking to solve? The fourth thing is how. How are you going to approach solving this problem? Why is it a unique approach? Why has it not been done before? Why do we believe that now this approach will work? The fifth one is why you. And this is a very important one, which is to say why you and your team is the best team to solve this problem. And the last one is, what signals do you have? So do you have any indication that you're headed in the right direction if you believe this is why you're building and this is what you're building for? So the last part is about being able to create early signs of success or leading indicators of success. Another reason why I got metaphorically fired from Nvidia, we'll talk about it another time, but the early indicators of success are extremely important, right? But all of this is to develop clarity, and developing clarity will allow you to build trust. Another way of saying trust is conviction. You must have heard this from founders that we're highly convicted in this area, we're highly convicted for this startup. That's just the inverse of what trust means to you as founders. So let me give you an example of how this was put to use. I was with Snorkel when they were a seed stage company, just came out of Stanford AI Lab, and I spent a total of 4 years there. I was leading all of go-to-market at first, and then I led their marketing efforts. And over the course of 4 years, we went through 3 rounds of funding. We raised $135 million from VCs like Greylock, Lightspeed, and BlackRock. And we based it on a very similar framework. And it evolved over time. It certainly became more and more refined as we went through the maturity of the company. But largely, these answers have not changed from the moment we started. Number one, why Snorkel? Because labeling data was and is still hard and expensive. Why now? Because AI adoption is outpacing manual labeling. There's a lot more data that needs to be prepared for AI models to be trained. And enterprise need this data to be trained at a much higher speed. What if this was not solved? This means that AI production would be delayed. And if it is solved, it could yield a 10x advantage in terms of speed, in terms of cost, in terms of performance for the models that have been built. In terms of how Snorkel is going about, so Snorkel is solving the data labeling problem through programmatic labeling rather than manual labeling. And the team at Snorkel has been the creator of the open source project, and they've surrounded themselves with deep enterprise go-to-market experts that gives them the opportunity to go after the space. And then there's early traction from very large US banks. There's early traction from government agencies like US Air Force that is giving us the conviction that we're headed in the right direction. So in a nutshell, the story is largely captured here. And like I said, it hasn't changed much over the course of 4 years where we continue to build this up. Similarly, I'll give you an example of a more recent one. So 1099 is a company that I've invested into. In addition to investing in them, I've also advised them. And what 1099 is focused on, they're focused on helping SaaS applications run on cloud-prem or on-prem environments in a much faster fashion. So being able to package your SaaS app and deploy it into customers' environments. And the problem is that if you are a SaaS or an AI vendor, if you don't have this offering where you're able to run on-premise environment or cloud environments, customer cloud environments, then you're leaving money on the table. You're not able to go out and capture that portion of the market. And with Tensor 9, you're able to now package your app without any refactoring and create a digital twin that allows that deployment to happen much more quicker. The team is from AWS, so they've seen this problem before. And in early pilots, they've seen that they've been able to shave off 12 months in terms of deploying SaaS or AI apps into customer environments. So again, it's the same framework applied in a different context. To give you another example. And I've seen my 5-minute warning over here, so we're reaching towards the home stretch over here. So I want to recap. This is the lesson that I took away. I think it's still relevant that our job as founders is not to just write code. It is to create belief. And one of the fastest way to creating belief is to create clarity. Clarity leads to trust. Trust potentially leads to funding as well. So next steps, a few things. If you're actively raising, or if you believe that you're going to raise in a short period of time, one is rewrite your narrative with this framework. See how far along have you been able to create that clarity. Share it with your folks. Share it with a friendly investor. Share it with your fellow founders. Share it with a smart, non-technical person. This one, I think, is a really critical way of getting feedback. And see if they can repeat your story back to you. How much clearer was your story to them once you shared your story with them? And then reach out to me if you need any more help. I would be more than happy to look at your deck.